This series of tutorials will teach you the basics of Command Combat Civil War. This 5th tutorial shows how the game ends and how to determine the winner. If playing a special scenario, the terms for ending the game will be stated in the scenario itself. The standard way of ending the game is one of 4 conditions is met. One side's casualties have reached the Corps General's percentage number, all objectives have been captured by one player, the end of turn 20 has been reached, or one entire side has been destroyed. We will go through each of these conditions. One side's casualties have reached the Corps General's percentage number. Each Corps General has a percentage number. This is how many casualties he can take before he can't take any more and starts pulling back. The easiest way to determine this number is to look at your army before the game begins. Count the number of stands in your army. Then look at the percentage number of your general. Determine how many stands it takes to equal that percentage number. For instance, if your general has a damage number of 30% and you have 50 stands, it will take 15 stands to reach your general's damage percentage, because 30% of 50 is 15. So once this corps loses 15 stands, the game ends. Always round up if a percentage leaves you with a decimal. If you figure out this number before the game begins, it will be much easier. If your Corps General is taken out during the game, the Division General who takes over uses his damage number multiplied by 10. Immediately figure out the number of stands he can lose when he takes over. If that number has already been reached, the game immediately ends. If it has not, the game continues, bearing in mind the new number of stands needed to end the game. Although it's likely that the player who caused the end of the game lost, it is not necessarily true that he is the loser. Each side will be adding up various points, such as bombardment and cavalry points, to see if they can get any parting shots on one another. After all of these points have been added up, compare them to see who is the winner. One player takes all objectives. An objective is considered taken when one player has a unit within 10 inches of the objective and no enemy unit is within 10 inches of that objective. Some scenarios do not count one side as controlling an objective in this way, such as in a defense scenario when the defender begins around the objectives. In most scenarios, when either side controls all the objectives on the table, the game ends. Go to the post-game phase to see who has won. The game will usually end with the player who captured the objectives winning, but occasionally the one who lost the objectives scores so many points that he still wins the game. The end of turn 20 is reached. Some players may decide to have the game end earlier, such as on turn 10, as a game all the way to turn 20 can be quite lengthy if neither loses earlier by some other means. 20 turns is merely the amount of time it would take for a full day's worth of fighting. Whatever the players decide on the end of the game, when that turn finishes, the game ends. Consult the post-game on page 91, each side adding up their points. The player with the highest score wins the game. One side is completely en route. If one side has no units on the table which are not en route at the end of the turn, the game ends immediately. The side en route or destroyed is automatically the loser, and no points are scored. In this case, it is very clear who won. This concludes the tutorial on ending the game. To see more tutorials on everything from creating your army to using it in battle, check out the other tutorials, and visit us at www.commandcombat.com. Happy gaming, everybody!